Okay, so here's the app from the Snack Expo side. So let me actually demonstrate the functionality first, and then I'll take you through a quick tour of the app itself. So we have a login screen where you enter a username and password, and there's an option to also create an account. So if I click on the create account, I can go to the account registration screen. So I can enter a new account, username, password, or your email and password, and I can create an account. Then I can go back to login, and once I've created my account, then I can log in. So I've actually already made an account. So I used my Kalani HS address, and then my password. And so when I click login, then that takes me to the protected home screen. So it knows who I am. There's nothing here right now, but you could put whatever content you want, protected content you want here. And then I can log out. When I log out, that takes me back to the home screen. Okay, so that's the functionality of the app. So this interfaces with the Back4 app, the database that I just set up, using the credentials that I showed you on that security page. So when you take a look at, so let's take a look at the breakdown of the app. So I have my main app file, which I'm showing you right here. Pretty small. This is just the navigator, and then it has the the pages. So there's 3 pages or 3 components in the app. Let's look at the components folder. There's the home screen. So this is the screen that you get once you successfully log in. So this is kind of the protected content behind the sign-in page. Then we have the login, user login. It's called user login, the login page. So this is the page that you're actually looking at right here on the right side here in the emulator. This is a page that you're seeing there. And then we have the user registration page, and that's the page you get when I click this button and I go to the account registration. So this allows a user to put in their credentials and then create a new account on the database. Okay, now the thing about the database is, so if I were to go to a different device, if this were on this computer and I logged in, if I go to a different computer and I log in, or a different phone or a different tablet and I log in, it's still going to accept the same credentials. So that information, the user credentials, the user account that was created, that's persistent, meaning you can access it from any device and it's not going to go away once you turn off the device or close the app. Okay, so that's the neat thing about it. Now, I'm not going to, rather than go line by line and try to explain everything, I'm going to give you the code here and give you a brief kind of overview of it, and then I'm going to let you play around with it. Okay, because that's really kind of how you learn about how code works. Is oftentimes you'll see some examples and you see what the final outcome is, and you see the raw code itself, and making the connections, kind of just delving in and looking at it and making the connections between the raw code and the output. That's kind of how you learn. So instead of giving you a line-by-line tour, which would get boring and long after a while, I'll kind of give you a brief overview and then let you kind of have at it, play around with the app. So I showed you the app.js file. This is really just kind of a container for just the pages of the app. So there's actually really no significant coding here other than just kind of setting the stage. Now, when we let's go to the login screen, because that's what you're seeing right here on the right in the emulator. Okay, there's a bunch of new stuff here. So I have my user interface. So this is the stuff you're actually seeing on the screen. So you have the text input and a bunch of other things. And then in the middle, you have, these are the guts of the app. So this is the logic that actually handles the login. Okay, you can kind of take a look at how it's set up. So this is where it interfaces with the database, and it sends information back and forth to the database. Okay, now when you set this up, in this top section here, this is where you're going to put your credentials for your database that you set up. I put my credentials here. These are things that you can find where I showed you the Back4 app, the security page. That's where you find that information. So for the purposes of the demo, I'm going to leave my information here, but when I share this link with you so you can play around with it, I'm going to take out this information. And so you're going to put your own, after you make your own Back4 app database, you're going to put that information here, okay, so that you can see it on your side. Okay, and this occurs in several places as well. So several other files have this information. So just kind of be on the lookout for a section that looks like this, and that's where you put your credentials for your database. Okay, so this is the login screen. The user registration screen looks kind of similar. You have the UI here. These are the text fields and things. And then in the middle, you have the guts that interface with the database. And then you have your imports up here. And again, you have this information about your particular database credentials. And then the home screen. So once the user logs in successfully, then they go to the home screen. And that's this stuff right here. So again, you see the database credentials in that section there. You see kind of the guts of it here. And then you see the user interface kind of down here. Okay, so there's a real brief tour of that. So I'm going to go ahead and let you play around with it and kind of poke around and see what you can find out about it. One thing is that sometimes now Expo Stack is kind of finicky because, see, the thing is, because it allows you to design an app for through basically three platforms. You have iOS, you have Android, and you could also use it to design basically a web page as well. So it has to be flexible enough to try to accommodate all three platforms. So sometimes you got to do some little tweaks. So sometimes, depending on like your browser or kind of the setup of your device, you may see some errors, as I found when I was playing around with this at home and at school. So what I found is if you go to the app.js file, I put like a little import statement right there. I commented it out because that seems to work on my home computer where I am right now. But if you start getting errors, try uncommenting that. Sometimes that'll take care of it. It's kind of a little finicky, just because it's trying to cover all the bases, iOS, Android, and just a basic web page app. And sometimes, things slip through the cracks. So something that may work on iOS crashes on Android or vice versa. Okay, so sometimes you just got to kind of play around with it and tweak it. It's a little finicky, but it allows us to, the benefits of it are it allows us to just write one set of code. So if the code works on all three platforms, then you only have to write code once. You don't have to write separate code from the ground up for iOS and then another set of code for Android. Okay, so this is the app. This is the login. And I know a lot of you are kind of getting to the stage where you're ready to try this out. Okay, so have at it and see what you can make of it.